Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Viewers, this is Awsaf Rahman. Today the topic is pretty interesting. Mainly it is more into the business law aspect actually, the intellectual properties. We all heard about the properties which is the tangible assets. I mean the house, the equipment and all the assets you talk about. Now, the intellectual property, what exactly is that all about? I'll tell you in the simple word. I mean, not getting to exact definition academically has been used. Well, basically, it's about a person or a company who invents something or invent a device or equipment, or a person who writes a book and all. And that thing becomes the intangible asset for that company or for that person. And no other person, any other company entity has a right to take that information without that person or company's consent and use it for its own commercial benefit without its permission of the original author or the original inventor, no, or the company is. So basically, that's what intellectual property is all about. Like for example, like someone invented something, some sort of a device from his own lab, from his own garage, and since that itself is a very beneficial for the society, so they bring that into the market and start selling that stuff and getting commercial property. Now any other person, any other company cannot what do you say use that person's technology or that method of inventing or the technique or process used and start making it on his own and start selling it in the market, gaining the profit without that person's consent and permission. And that's where the intellectual property comes in the picture in between, to protect that company or that person from being, what do you say, the knowledge information is being snatched or taken away or flipped by some other person or company to take advantage of that. That's what the simple intellectual property is all about. Now, basically, there are four broad categories actually in intellectual properties: patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. So that's all. There are different definitions. I'll not go into deep in that, but what I'm saying that this is all about. And now the fifth one has come is digital assets. Now the digital aspect, which is the intangible asset also, is now a part of the intellectual property. Some give an example as NFT, non-fungible token. I'll talk about that thing in the future videos. I mean that itself is a different topic. So this is what intangible property is. It is basically that's what intellectual property is, which itself is the intangible assets of a person's or company value. Now the question is, what does the Sharia talks about that thing? What is the ruling, the Sharia hukum behind that? Now, since in the Holy Quran and Hadith, mainly it has talking about the tangible aspect, doing the business of it. But now this intangible aspect is something very new to us. I mean, it has come like few decades back and all that, but it is not that old concept. It is a new concept actually, right? So such new concept which has come due to the rise of the improved technologies of the communication system, the industrial system and all that. So in this case, this intellectual property has no direct reference anywhere in the Quran and Hadith actually. So now the question is, what is the ruling over? Because now this has become a part of the people's business life actually. Every now and then is using intellectual property as a part of the business or part of the work, part of the commercial aspect and all that. And it has become very important because and this thing has not only become important, this carries a lot of value actually. Some of them do say that like they use intellectual properties for the marketing and branding purpose. Some even to such an extent that even though this does not highlight in the balance sheet or income statement or profit loss account, income account, but it has a lot of effect even in the stock market share, how the marketing brand of the company is actually, and that's how affects the share market based on the intellectual property, and anyone misusing that thing can lead to a hefty fines, and also that person can be put behind the bars actually. Is that serious actually? Is that important also actually? But it is said that in the profit loss account and the balance sheet, there's one part of the calculation which is called the amortization. This intellectual property comes under amortization because it is an intangible asset, so it comes under that. So that's okay. Coming back to the Sharia hukum. Now, since there's no direct reference from Quran and Hadith, so the contemporary Islamic scholars and ulama have come with the conclusion that there are basically main two views actually about this thing. Since it is not even there's no direct reference mentioned even the juristic books, the books of fiqh actually. So the general rulers of Sharia has taken into consideration, and in spite of that, also there are some differing opinions also. Like I said, there are two different main opinions in the scholars. One view is that some of the scholars, they say that this intellectual property itself is not does not exist, and you cannot consider as a part of anyone's business or anyone's personal assets, because it is an intangible asset. Now, what do they mean when they say intangible asset or the intellectual property? Is that thing which has no value on it as a physical thing, as an asset itself. It is just nothing but a mental aspect, the mental work of it. That's what they say. And since there is no direct or indirect reference mentioned in the Holy Quran and Hadith that there is such thing called as intangible asset, and due to that, like the example they give is that, like knowledge, Islamic knowledge. Now the Islamic knowledge is such a thing that you cannot prevent anyone from gaining the knowledge, or you cannot stop anybody, and you cannot hide that thing. That needs to be spread around everywhere. So based on such thing also, there is no such thing as intangible asset, and you cannot apply the intellectual property in your business or a personal life, whatever it is. That is the first. That's the first view of some of the scholars. Now the second view of some of the contemporary scholars, they say that intellectual property it carries the same value how the physical and the physical assets, the value it carries. The intangible asset do carry the same value as much as the tangible asset carries. So, and the explanation they give that, see, gaining the knowledge is nothing wrong with it. For example, as if anyone has invented something and you're using it for your own benefit, you bought something from them, or someone has written the book and you bought that book and you're reading and getting knowledge and you're getting benefit of that thing, right? So that is nothing wrong with it. That is not the main intellectual property it talks about. The main intellectual property talks about is that one has spent day and night, hard work, putting the mental pressure, labor over there to invent a device or equipment, or someone has written a book day and night using the mental pressure, mental stress and mental labor to write that book and make a book over there and to publish that thing. That kind of person who has done this thing, that person and the company has the right to earn the fruit of the labor what he has gained. That is, they are the one who has the right to sell it, to gain the commercial benefit out of it. Nobody else, without that person's permission. And someone if does that thing, it violates that person's right actually, and that company's right, without the permission. No. So that what it talks about. That's the second view is talks about. Like it is allowed, and such conditions tells about such things and all. It is how explained in this way. Now since even further explanation from the second view is that if anyone wants to, allows that person to let them they want to benefit the commercial aspect from what I've invented and written the book, fine, they can do that, And if they tell them you have to charge me, I'll charge you this much to do that thing, they have the right to charge, and they have to pay them, and then only they can benefit. And that is allowed in the Sharia. So that's the second view talks about that thing. That's right. And the third aspect they talk about, what has been mentioned, is in a country where they mention the intellectual property as a legal aspect. It is legal that the intellectual property has to be applied to the company, business, or the person. So everyone is bound to it. Even those scholars who disagree with that thing, those scholars is bound to follow that rule. Whether you're in the Islamic country or whether you're in a non-Islamic country. Islamic country, because obviously the Sharia law tells that to follow the rules and regulations of the country laws, as long as it does not go against the Sharia, Quran and Hadith. And the same way, if someone is living in non-Islamic country, non-Muslim country also, due to the having a contractual pact with the country's constitution, that you live in this country as per law order mentioned in this country, you will follow that thing, you will not break the law. The person is bound to do it. It's binding on him to follow it, as long as that law and constitution does not go against the Quran and Hadith and all. That's a simple, that's a straightforward Sharia principle talks about. So even the intellectual property also, if the government has implied that law to it, it is binding to everyone to follow. Even those scholars who disagree with that thing, they can disagree with that thing from the academic aspect, but as far as the ruling law is concerned, when they're conducting the business, everything, everyone is bound to follow it and not to break the law. That's the thing. So that's what I was talking about, the intellectual property, and the reference I've taken is from one of the senior most Islamic scholar around the world, who is Mufti Taqi Usmani Sahab, Dawood Maqatum. He has a website, you can Google around his name, and he has his own website where his website talks about all the fatwas he issues, the articles he talks about, what all he has published also, and what all the books or copies he has published on the website. So you can refer over there. So whatever the explanation I have given, I have taken the reference from his fatwa, which is mentioned in his website actually, and his view is the second view he follows actually. That's the thing. So that's it for all. Thank you so much for everything. Please like, share, subscribe to our videos and channel. Any mistake I've done, may Allah SWT forgive me. And any comments you have, please do write down in the comments. And remember me in your du'as. Take care. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.